Cowboy up, it's time to get it started. Cowboy up, we're so glad that you came. Say hi for Jesus as we all stand and sing. It's time to get it started right here at Bryan Lane. Cowboy up, here at the Cowboy Church. We're so glad that you made it. I want to shake your hand, hug your neck. Yes, we mean it, Cowboy up.
I got sent home from school one day with a shiner on my eye. Fighting was against the rule, and it didn't matter why. When Dad got home, I told that story just like I'd rehearsed. Then I stood there on those trembling knees and waited for the words. And he said, let me tell you a secret about a father's love. A secret that my daddy said was just between us. Daddies don't just love the children every now and then. It's a love without end. Amen. It's a love without end. Amen. When I became a father in the spring of '81, ain't no doubt that stubborn boy was like my father's son. When I got through, my patience had been tested to the end. Took my little secret and I shared it all to him. I said, let me tell you a secret about a father's love. A secret that my daddy said was just between us. Daddies don't just love their children every now and then. It's a love without end. Amen. It's a love without end. Amen. Last night I dreamed I died, stood outside the pearly gates. When suddenly I realized there must be some mistake. If they knew half the things I'd done, they'd never let me in. Then somewhere on the other side, heard these words again. I said, let me tell you a secret about a father's love. A secret that my daddy said was just between us. He said, Daddy, don't just love the children every now and then. It's a love without end. Amen. It's a love without end. Amen.
God sent His Son. They called Him Jesus. He came to love, heal and forgive. Well, He lived and died to bear my pardon. An empty grave is there to prove my Savior lived. Because He lives, I can face tomorrow. Because He lives, all fear is gone. Because I know
He holds the future, and life is worth the living just because He lives.
Well, how sweet to hold a lay newborn baby and feel the pride and joy He gives. But greater still, that calm assurance this child can face uncertain days because He lives. Because He lives, well, I can face tomorrow. Because He lives, all fear is gone. Because I know He holds the future, and life is worth the living just because He lives. And then one day, well, I'll cross the river and I'll fight life's final war with pain, and then as death gives way to victory, well, I'll see the lights of glory, and I'll know He lives. Because He lives, well, I can face tomorrow. Because He lives, well, all fear is gone. Because I know He holds the future, and life is worth the living just because He lives.
Jesus is calling, calling, calling night and day, and you will hear Him if you just pray. He's calling for you, so don't turn away. Jesus is calling, calling, calling night and day. When your soul is weary, it seems you lost your way, Jesus is calling, calling night and day. When you need a friend to go with you all the way, Jesus is calling, calling, calling night and day. Jesus is calling, calling, calling night and day, and you will hear Him if you just pray. He's calling for you, so don't turn away. Jesus is calling, calling, calling night and day. If you're lost in sin, there's no need for you to stay. Jesus is calling, calling, calling night and day. If the night is dark, you will soon see the day. Jesus is calling, calling, calling night and day. Jesus is calling, calling, calling night and day, and you will hear Him if you just pray. He's calling for you, so don't turn away. Jesus is calling, calling, calling night and day.
Why me, Lord?
that I ever done deserve even one of the pleasures I've known. Tell me, Lord, what did I ever do that was worth loving you and the kindness you've shown? Lord, help me, Jesus, I wasted it, so help me, Jesus, I know what I am. Now that I know that I needed you, so help me, Jesus, my soul's in your hand. Tell me, Lord, you think there's a way I can try to repay all I've taken from you? Maybe, Lord, I can show someone else what I've been through myself on my way back to you. Lord, help me, Jesus, I wasted it, so help me, Jesus, I know what I am. Now that I know that I needed you, so help me, Jesus, my soul's in your hand. Lord, help me, Jesus, I wasted it, so help me, Jesus, I know what I am. Now that I know that I needed you, so help me, Jesus, my soul's in your hand. Jesus, my soul's in your hand.
A little boy walks up with a bloody nose. He got beat up on his way home from school again. His dad caught him running out the back, tears in his eyes and a baseball bat. Ooh, revenge. Said, son, I won't stop you, but before you go, let me tell you a little story about the toughest man I know. When you hit him, you turn the other cheek. Don't think for a minute he was weak. 'Cause in the end, he shoved him, he was anything but frail. He hammered him to a cross, but it was tougher than nails. Well, he dropped that bad like a weight of time. His father put his arms around his side and said, just let it go. Believe me, I've been in your shoes, had to ask myself, what would Jesus do? Here's what I know. Whenever I'm in doubt, I look up what he said, 'cause it's all there in the good book, in black and white and red. 'Cause when you hit him, he turns the other cheek. Don't think for a minute he was weak. In the end, he shoved him, he was anything but frail. him to the cross. But he was tougher than his. Yeah, in the end, he showed them he was anything but frail. They hammered him to the cross, but he was tougher than death.
This week, y'all sit down. Thank y'all. This week, I saw a deal, and at first I thought, man, that's pretty cool. And as the week went on, I found myself going back and looking it up. And I finally screenshot it. And I didn't know why I screenshot it, but anyway, it's in my pictures now, right? So this morning, I was, as the Lord had been bringing me the message all week, and on Sunday mornings I get up and I actually put it down on paper, and I take everything that the Lord has shown me, and if I took everything and brought it, y'all would be here all day. So we're not going to do that. But this guy said, he's from my hometown, and his name's Mike, but he said, the difference I have found between church people and followers of Jesus is one group wants to hear the gospel and one wants to live the gospel. Well, that's powerful, man. He's just a common working class man, but that's what he has picked up as he has watched Christians in the world. Did you get that? Some people just want to sit and hear it. Some people actually want to live it. How do you live it? You get in God's Word, you pour into His Word, you pour into Him. What does He say in John? You remain in me and I'll remain in you. Amen? Now, when we fathers finally get that, life starts to change. You know, just being a Christian father doesn't make you, let me say, I'll put this nicely. You get children no matter what you are. Remember last week, Mother's Day, we talked about children are a reward from Him. You know, so many moms and dads say, this is my world. This is my world. My life revolves around them. But does it really? Because see, what your life should revolve around is the cross. Then your children will learn to live for Jesus and not the world. Because what does it say in John 3:30? He must become greater and greater, and I must become less and less. If those children are your everything, your world, you do whatever they say, whenever they say, you are failing, dads. It's not about them being the world, it's about Jesus Christ being your world. When you get that, fathers, we'll get it figured out. Now, what has to happen? You have to remain in Him and He has to remain in you. It doesn't say anything about remain in your children and they'll remain in you. How many so-called Christians, and I say that a lot, but you know, for a long time I was a so-called Christian. Can I tell you, I had accepted Christ at a young age, 10 or 11. And as the ways of the world engulfed me, I had this belt. Y'all have heard this before if you've ever heard me talk much. I had this belt and it had crosses all the way around on it. But you know what? I would only wear it to church on Sundays. I'd only wear it to church on Sundays. I wouldn't wear it in the bars. I didn't wear it to the rodeos. I didn't wear it to all the things I did with the world. Because why? Because I knew I was a so-called Christian. I knew that it was wrong. I knew the worldly ways is not what I was supposed to be doing. Because why? Because I was telling people, yeah, I accepted Christ when I was 10 or 11. How many of us do that? How many Christians? This ain't just for dads now. Don't sit out there and say, boy, I'm glad I ain't no daddy today. How many so-called Christians are just here to hear the gospel? That's all you want. You know, I was thinking about this, and if you say something in front of your kids, it's a good shot they're going to go tell a kid. You know what I'm saying? But, boy, he has got me to saying that all the time. But things come back through your children. You're like, what? What? This young man came to church here. And an older young man brought him. You know why? I mean, it's great. This guy felt the need to bring this young man because the little man's daddy don't come. He don't come to church. So it was great that this young man brought this little bitty man with him. And when the kids got up to go to Sunday school, he said, y'all ain't going. We ain't got time for all that. Because when this is over, we got to go. We got things to do. Now you see, what he was doing is he was coming in here to just hear the gospel. He wasn't wanting to live it. How many of us do that? How many of us rush in here on Sunday morning because it's what we're supposed to do? We come in here just to hear it. And we leave here and don't live it. Y'all can be turning to James because we're going to end up there in a minute. How many Christians just are here to hear the word this morning? You can turn to James 1, right there in the front. There, say amen. Boy, y'all slow this morning. Tighten up. Donnie there. Donnie ain't no speed reader. I told him where he's going to be out there. Ain't that right? That's right. James 1, let's start right there. Understanding this, my dear brothers and sisters, you must all be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to get angry. Human anger does not produce the righteousness God desires. So get rid of all the filth and evil in your lives and humbly accept the word God has planted in your hearts, for it has the power to save your souls. You see, what we're looking at right here is listening and doing what it says, right? You see, I'm going to stop right there. I'm going to tell you a little deal about the black eyes and the bloody nose that I know about. My daddy told me in the beginning at a young age, you better not start a fight, but you better finish it. Well, I grew up with that mentality. And I'll never forget, 17 years old, and there was a concert, and I went to the concert. Daddy went on duck hunting in Eudora, Arkansas. We were going up there for Thanksgiving. It was the Wednesday before Thanksgiving, Tuesday night before Thanksgiving, something like that. I probably said something, did something I wasn't supposed to, Tommy. You ever done that? Anyway, when I showed up in Eudora, Arkansas, this eye was black. My face kind of beat up. And my daddy said, "What happened to you?" I said, "Well, I didn't start it. They started it." He said, "Did you finish it?" And I said, "Well, the guy I hit's got 2 black eyes, and I just got 1. So I did all right, did he?" You know what he told me? "You'll learn one day." How many was it? It was 3, Daddy. But that one in the middle, boy, he just kept running his mouth. You know what he told me? You're going to learn one day. You know what he told me my whole life? You're going to learn one day. You're going to learn one day. And the reason I'm telling you this is because I listened to him. But I didn't do what he was telling me to do. I didn't learn nothing. I just kept listening. I just kept listening to him, you know. And what as Eric sang, the turn another cheek, that's the biggest problem I had in life, man. I still have a problem with that one. But you know what my daddy taught me was listen and do. Well, you know, he was also training me to be a Christian man. And I was listening, but I wasn't doing. And as Proverbs 22:6 says, and we're going to get into that in a minute, train up a child in the way they should go, and when they are old, they will not depart from it. Well, you know what? I'm learning more and more how to turn the other cheek. But I'm learning more and more how to be a Christian man, how to be a Christian father. You know what my prayer was this morning? I just want to be better than I was yesterday. I'll never be perfect, Lord, but I just want to be better. How many dads pray that every morning? You see, because you can pray to be a better father, you can pray to be a better dad, you can pray to be better, but what you should be praying for is to be a better Christian. Because when you get more Christ-like, you're going to be a better dad. You're going to be a better father. You're going to be a better husband. So pick up there. I got off on that, but anyway, there was a reason for it. But don't just listen to God's word. You must do what it says. Otherwise, you're only fooling yourselves. For if you listen to the word and don't obey it, it's like glancing at your face in a mirror. You should see yourself, walk away. You see yourself, walk away, and forget what you look like. But if you look carefully into the perfect law that sets you free, and if you do what it says and don't forget what you heard, then God will bless you for doing it. If you claim to be righteous but don't control your tongue, you are fooling yourselves, and your religion is worthless. You see, I don't want to be more religious. I want to be more Christ-like. Because in my lifetime, I've seen a lot of religious people that were nothing but lip service. Nothing but lip service. Pure and genuine religion in the sight of God the Father means caring for orphans and widows in their distress and refusing to let the world corrupt you. You see, that's what us fathers do. We let the world corrupt us. Instead of getting in the Word and learning from the Word how to be a father, how to be a Christ-like father, we would rather go with the world. You know, have the cool kids at the school. You know, we were talking this week about how kids suffer and how they go through all these things. We were talking about how we suffer. You know what? Paul suffered. And what did he tell the Lord? It's all right. I'm suffering for you. So see, if you're not the cool mom and dad and you're not the cool kids, maybe you don't fit into the world just right, right? But you see, as you're leading your children to Christ, that's what matters. Because when you got your eye on the cross, the world just fades to the side. You know what? You might lose friends. There might be people just kind of trickle away from you. When I started preaching, man, I got less and less phone calls from some buddies. The more Christ-like I got, the less and less. You know what? I just pray that one day they come right back around. And because of the change and the more Christ-like they've seen in me, maybe they let the world fall out of the way. You know what? Because when I reach that cross, I'll be judged for Woody. I'll be judged for the father I was, for the man I was. What will you be judged for? How many fathers are just here to hear the word? How many fathers will be celebrated today? Now, you think about all your friends, all right? And I've mentioned this a couple of times the last couple of weeks, but I was reading a thing, listening to a guy or something, and he said, if you'll look at the 5 loudest voices in your life, you'll know exactly where you're headed in life. The 5 main voices that you listen to. That's the 5 main voices that tell you how to live, how to raise your children, how to either live with the world or live with Christ. You see, those 5 loudest voices, most of you husbands, your wife's the loudest, right? Well, you know what? Christ should be your loudest voice. Because if you got your focus on her, sometimes she's just babbling. I'll just be honest. Mine's back there with kids, so I can say what I want to today. I don't even get dirty looks, head shakes, none of it. And some of y'all are going to run and tell her. I can see it. I can see it in your face. It's all right. I prayed for a hedge of protection around me today, Jared. But how many fathers will be celebrated today that have no idea of what being a follower of Jesus Christ really means? They've sat and heard the word. Maybe they had never heard the word. How many of us fathers have sat and heard the word year after year after year, and we're no different today as a Christian father than we were the day we started listening? You see, I'm a welder by trade, and I'll tell everybody, man, I can tell you exactly how to weld that bead. I can give you all the things to do with that rod and that stinger. But until you run the bead yourself, you don't know what I'm talking about. Until you walk the walk with Christ, you don't know what I'm talking about. You see, actions, you got to listen, but you got to put them to action. Proverbs 22:6, and I love this. This is my favorite verse, and usually when I'm quoting that, I'll quote the New King James Version. It says, train up a child in the way they should go, and when they are old, they will not depart from it. But I'm preaching out of the NLT, and a lot of y'all have the NLT, and Proverbs 22:6, and it changes the words just a little bit, same meaning. Direct your children onto the right path, and when they are old, they will not leave it. Now, fathers, we are training our children. We're directing them, right? Are y'all with me? You agree with that? Fathers, you agree? We're directing them. We're training them. Because whether you like it or not, your kids are watching you. Whether you like it or not, they're watching every move you make, man. You know, I get to have, I stopped up there at Mike's Gas the other day to get gas. It cost me about $1,000 to fill up my truck and get jugs, you know. But anyway, but I ran into more people. How long did we talk? 15, 20 minutes? I talked to Chris DePries. I saw Jeff Hobson. Man, it was great. I got to visit with all these people. I'm going to go up there twice a week, just stand around. But you know, we were standing there talking, And it hit me. Our kids are watching everything. Our kids are watching everything we do, good or bad. You got me? God loved you so much, He gave you a blessing. They are a reward from Him. I don't care what your relationship is. They're your reward. So what needs to happen, if it ain't in your life, you need to understand that. You need to raise your kids together. Okay? The yan, the blah, blah, that you have to go. Because what those kids are learning is what a relationship looks like. What they're doing is realizing that that's just the way life is. We loved you at one time because we had you. But we don't anymore, so I'm going to knock her. I'm going to talk about her. And He's sorry. Let me tell you something. If you're in here today and that's the way you're living your life, you need to get over yourself. You need to find Jesus Christ and understand what dying to self means. Don't think me and my wife don't argue sometimes. But then she understands I'm right and we go on about our business. But do you agree we're raising our kids? Everything you're doing, right or wrong, you're raising them. And they're watching everything you do, Dad. Everything you do. Flip over to 2, James 2. We're going to pick up at 14. What good is it, dear brothers and sisters, if you say you have faith, but don't show it by your actions? Can that kind of faith save anyone? Suppose you see a brother or sister who has no food or clothing, and you say goodbye and have a good day, stay warm and eat well, but then you don't give that person any food or clothing. What good does that do? So you see, faith by itself isn't enough. Unless it produces good deeds, it is dead and useless. You see, if we walk around and we talk about Jesus Christ, we talk about being a Christian, we talk about how much faith we have in Jesus Christ, and we do all those deals and we say all those things, but there's no deeds, your kids are watching. Just like everybody else. They're picking up that, hey, we can go to church on Sunday and we can live for the world the rest of the week and we're good. You see, because they're learning, right? We got that? These children are learning that you can walk out that door and live for the world until you get here next Sunday. They're learning from you. Hurry up, we got things to do. I hope that preacher don't preach too long. Because it starts with you. You know, I'm all excited about the lake and all that stuff. I don't never go, but I love to look at it. But if you got to rush out of hearing God's word to get there, pretty good chance you ain't living in God's word. I said what I said. You visitors, I love you. Good to see you. I just tell it like it is. I have to stand on this, dads, moms. You know, because I didn't for a long time. Although I had the example to live for Jesus. (18) says, now someone may argue, some people have faith, others have good deeds, but I say, how can you show me your faith if you don't have good deeds? I will show you my faith by my good deeds. You say you have faith, for you believe that there is one God. Good for you. Even the demons believe this, and they tremble in terror. Even the devil knows there's one God, man. The devil. How foolish. Can't you see that faith without good deeds is useless? Don't you remember that our ancestor Abraham was shown to be right with God by his actions when he offered his son Isaac on the altar? You see, his faith and his actions worked together. His actions made his faith complete. And so it happened just as the scriptures say. Abraham believed God, and God counted him as righteous because of his faith. He was even called the friend of God. So you see, we are shown to be right with God by what we do, not by faith alone. Rahab the prostitute is another example. She was shown to be right with God by her actions when she hid those messengers and sent them safely away by a different road. Just as the body is dead without breath, so also faith is dead without good works. Faith is dead without good works. You see, that's one thing that comes to me all the time. When people start telling about their past and why they don't want to go to church, why they don't go to church. It's because somebody said they had faith in Jesus Christ. And what does Jesus say? Love one another. Right? And he also said he died on a cross for everybody, no matter their past, right? But how many people say they have faith, they stood in the church, they acted as a deacon, a pastor, a teacher, or whatever. I've got faith, but... and they turn people away from Jesus. It's happened. I'm not just telling you something I heard on a video. I heard it in a college Sunday school room. And it was pointed at me. And I walked out. Both my parents taught Sunday school, same church. And I walked out. But you know what? God put me somewhere else with 3-year-olds with my mama. Maybe that's why I love kids. I don't know. Maybe I know how to use a hot shot on a child too. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. But you know, how many people in that church that said they had faith, in every church across America, said they had faith, but when it came down to the tough times, they didn't show it. They turned their back. Right? How many so-called Christians sitting in here do the same thing? How many so-called Christians sit in here and they talk about all the faith and all the things how the Lord's touched them and all these things, but we don't see deeds. We don't see the fruit. We don't see the fruit. What does your faith look like? See, this question isn't just for fathers right here. What does your faith look like? Is it lip service? Or is it actions? Because that talk's cheap. But you see, let me explain something to you. When you get to the foot of the cross, to Judgment Day, you won't be the one doing the talking. You won't be the one bragging on your faith and what all you did. He's going to know. He's going to say, well, I don't know about that. See much fruit out you, pard. You talked a good game, but when you walked out the door and you lived for the world, you didn't show me nothing. You didn't show me anything. You showed me what the world looked like to you. You know what else you did? Dad, you showed your son and your daughter what the world looked like. That's what you did. You showed them what the world looked like. Man, they were the coolest kids in the school. And you were the coolest parents on the block. To them. To all your little peers and all their little peers. Y'all were cool, man. But when I say deeds, I'm talking about my deeds. See, that's what he's going to tell us. And you're just going to be sit there humbled. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. But he's going to tell you, shut your mouth. When you do the but, like people do to the preacher, you say, I ain't your judge. You can butt me all day long. But when we stand before Christ, will we hear, dads, well done, my good and faithful servant. See, he died on a cross. He died on a cross so a worthless sinner of a dad like me could start walking for him and live for him. Am I perfect? No. No, I'm not. Don't hear a message I ain't preaching. I still have a temper. I'm working on it daily. I handle it a lot better than I used to. And I'm getting better every day. But you know, one thing the Lord blessed me with was children and a beautiful wife. And I still have a tough time. You jack with them, you jacking with the devil. You see, but I fight my fight in a different way now. I'm going to stand on that word. Eric Church sings a song and it's called The Dark Side. And I go back and listen to it sometime. Just so I can remember the temper. I know you ain't supposed to go back and you're not supposed to look at your past and you're supposed to forget all that. But what I go back for is to know how Jesus blessed me and how he's taken things from me through my life. You see, Dad, that's what it's all about. That's what he's doing. If he's not doing that in your life, you need to get him in your life. You got to walk for him. I stood up here yesterday and Warrior boys were cleaning, and I came to clean the baptistry so we can have a baptism today. And we stood, 3 of us stood right there. And those young men talked about their kids. I wish they were here today. I passed them. They was all hanging out the truck waving when I passed them. But they got to talking about their kids and how being in an addiction ministry was hard. And how they missed their kids, man. How they wish they could go back, but they can't. But see, through the scriptures of Paul, they understand that there will be suffering. But they keep trudging on. And one day, if they just turn their lives around, which they have, and they keep walking toward the cross, one day, that reward that God sent them, they'll see them again. as long as their child believes, right? Well, you know, dads, we all struggled. If you say you ain't struggled, you're a lie. We all have struggled. We all have differences. None of us are the same. But we have one thing in common. We can give everything we got to Jesus Christ. But it takes one question. One thing to make a difference. And that's to ask Jesus in your heart. You see, not just the dad. Mom's got to have Jesus in their heart. The aunts, uncles. You see, because whether you like it or not, we're training children. We're training children. I saw the little boys over here, boy, they were getting Western a while ago, kind of get a little jumpy over there. One of them turned around. Here come Bronson. 4 little boys, he whispered in every one of them's ear, I think. The one that was turned around wasn't his, but he turned back around. You see, we're all training. If we call ourselves a Christian, are we training in the right way? Are we sending children down the right path? Or are we like the young man that told the little boy, hurry up, don't go to Sunday school because we ain't got time for all that? You see, what he did is he wasted God's time and God's chair. You can call it what you want to, but he wasted God's time. Clint Sinclair will be here in a couple of weeks and he'll tell you straight up, don't waste God's time. Get out of the way. You see, because there's kids here that need to learn about Jesus, and if you're deterring them from Jesus, you better get out of the way. Got pretty ticked at the disciples when they stopped the kids. What do you think he's going to do with you, Dad? What do you think it's going to be like on Judgment Day, Dad, when you deterred? When you said, don't go to Sunday school. Don't do that. We got things to do. Hurry up. I read one thing this morning. I want you to turn to 2 Kings 16, and I'm going to wrap this up. 2 Kings 16. And I'm going to read you something that to me was detestable, was sickening. And if you're here for a theological genius, I'm going to mess the words up probably, but Ahaz, son of Jotham, began to rule over Judah in the 17th year of King Pekah's reign in Israel. Ahaz was 20 years old when he became king, and he reigned in Jerusalem 16 years. Could y'all imagine a 20-year-old running something now? That just scared me to death right there. I mean, we got 20 years old that snowflakes that can't go get a job yet. Whew. He did not do what was pleasing in the sight of the Lord his God, as his ancestor David had done. See, he had an ancestor, David, that laid it out there how to do it, right? He offered, let me back up. Instead, he followed the example of the kings of Israel, even sacrificing his own son in the fire. In this way, he followed the detestable practices of pagan nations the Lord had driven from the land ahead of the Israelites. He offered sacrifices and burned incense at the pagan shrines and on the hills and under every green tree. Man, doesn't that sound horrible? Did y'all get that? He sacrificed his own son. Now, we just talked about a man that was taking his son to the altar in faith, right? He took his because the world said that's what to do. Did you catch that? He sacrificed his own son because that's what the pagan countries said do. And as I read that, I thought, you know what? Isn't that what we're doing if we're following the ways of the world? Yeah, maybe you're not throwing your child on an altar, but you're leading them to hell. When you live with the ways of the world, you're teaching them to live with the ways of the world, which is potentially sending them to hell. You are sacrificing your child to the devil when you let them walk with the world. And it starts with you, Dad. It starts with you, Dad. It starts with us. I told y'all at Mother's Day I was going to name the title, Just Say No. Well, you know what? Sometimes you have to tell Mama no. Sometimes you have to tell your children no. We're not going to do that because I'm going to be the father that's Christ-like. This word, this instruction manual for life tells me as a father to run my household. Take charge, dads. But it starts with Jesus Christ in your heart. I shared that at Brandon Powell hugging his daughter there last Sunday. And I said, that's what it starts with. That's what a good dad starts with, and that's Jesus. If we ain't got that, we ain't got nothing. We are sacrificing our children to the devil if you do not lead your children for Jesus Christ. That means keep every bit of focus on that cross. Not the world. We're training them. We're training them. Good or bad, we're training them. Good or bad. Dad, are you training them to be Christ-like or are you training them to be worldly? If you don't understand worldly, go back to the Scriptures and read what we read. Go back and read what we read right there in James. You see, I have people come to me all the time, and I just be quite honest with you. Have I ever told y'all this is the best job I've ever had, but the hardest? It's the most rewarding job I've ever had. But I have people come to me and they want to do this and they want to serve and they want to be a part and they want to lead this team. Hey, that works for me. I can do that. I want to teach. I want to do those. I'll get in that pulpit for you and I'll help you. And then there's this little thing called social media. And it's a bad deal, man. Everybody says that's a bad deal. But you know what? There's a lot of people that tell on themselves on social media. You want to teach what? You can't be part of the world. You can't be part of the world and live for Jesus. It's all or none, man. It's all or none. What are you going to do, Dad? You going to lead your kids to Christ? You're going to lead them to the world? You're going to sacrifice them to the devil, or are you going to give them back to Jesus? Because, see, they're just ours for a little while. Our job's to lead them back to that cross. Where are you today? Where are you today? It reminds me of the three circles. Where are you today? Are you so engulfed in that broken world, in the worldly ways of your life, that you can't put it down for Christ? Are we so engulfed with the world that we can't put it down for our kids to see what a Christ-like example looks like? Where are you today? Where would you like to be? Would you like to be headed toward the cross in everything you do? It starts with Jesus.
Now they tell me that streets of heaven are paved with diamonds and gold. Well, I may not get there, but if I do, I believe I take off my shoes. I'm gonna walk around heaven, gonna walk around heaven, barefooted, singing God's praise. I'm gonna walk around heaven, gonna walk around heaven, where there ain't no end of days. Well, it ain't no secret if you know me. Been no count most of my life, but I've been converted. Oh, I got the Spirit. Just a chance, gonna see this paradise. I'm gonna walk around heaven, gonna walk around heaven, barefooted, singing God's praise. I'm gonna walk around heaven, I'm gonna walk around heaven, where there ain't no end of day. When I get to heaven, all the preacher tells me I get a harp, some wings, and a halo. That's well and good. What I wanna hear, Lord, is Sister Brittany Mayo. Ha! Gonna walk around heaven, gonna walk around heaven, barefooted, singing God's praise. Gonna walk around heaven, gonna walk around heaven, where there ain't no end of days. Gonna walk around heaven, gonna walk around heaven, barefooted, singing God's praise. I'm gonna walk around heaven, I'm gonna walk around heaven, where there ain't no end of days. Where